Hello guys, this is Denzel. This is the second lecture of Microeconomics 1. In last episode, we've learned some core principle and conceptions. I believe that you've already got a clear awareness about opportunity cost. In chapter 2, we will apply it and figure out how individuals do their choices based on the opportunity cost. The first case is about the designer Kelly, whether she should design her own web page or hiring someone else to do this. Obviously, she should hire someone else since the cost is less. We should understand few important conceptions in this lecture. Absolute advantage generally means you can do one thing more efficient than others. For example, you can produce 1 unit per hour and I can produce 3 units. So I have the absolute advantage here. So this is nothing about the opportunity cost. However, the comparative advantage is something you should focus more on opportunity cost. The definition of it is a person have lower opportunity on one task than the other tasks. He or she have the comparative advantage on this task. The definition is if a person have lower opportunity cost on one task than other people, he or she has the comparative advantage on this task. The last statement is very important in this slide. Comparative advantage doesn't just care about your skill at one task, but about your skill at that task compared to your skill at other tasks. And I will give you further interpretation in the follow part of this chapter. The principle of comparative advantage is very important in so many economic sections. For example, it is a basic logic of the Ricardian model in international economics. This principle tells us everyone in the economics environment should specialize on the task that they have a comparative advantage. So the basic logic is total value of output increases with specialization and trade. I will show you specifically later. Well, in this case, there are 2 tasks and 2 people. I will give you guys some time to read the slide carefully. You can pause the video. I recommend you guys watch this kind of table horizontally. The task of web update will take Anna 20 minutes, and the task of bike repair will take Anna 10 minutes. So the costs are same for her to do 1 web update job or do 2 bike repair jobs. In this scenario, the opportunity cost of 1 web update for Anna is 2 bike repairs, while by contrast, the opportunity cost of 1 bike repair is 1/2 web update. Noticeably, if there are only 2 tasks and we use one to interpret the opportunity cost of the other one, and no monetary conception is introduced in this simple scenario, well, we can see that the opportunity cost of 2 tasks are the reciprocal to each other. So you guys can pause the video and think about the situation in Xin. Yes, the opportunity cost of 2 tasks for Xin are both 1 unit expressed by the other task. The results can be seen here. When we compare the opportunity cost, we right now see the figure vertically. Xin has lower opportunity cost on web update, and Anna has lower opportunity cost on bike repair. So Xin has the comparative advantage on web update, and Anna has the comparative advantage on bike repair. Okay, let's see another example. If we think about the hourly output, the calculation of the opportunity cost a little bit different from the previous scenario, but the logic are same. We should head off from the definition of opportunity cost. That is the cost that you choose to do one task expressed by the other task. You guys can try to calculate the opportunity cost for each task and see is it same as the answer in this table. After we figure out the comparative advantage for each person, we can now see the impact on specialization and trade. Before trade, we assume that both of them work 8 hours per day and spend half of the hours do one task, and the other half of the hours do another one. So the total output without trade and specialization is 16 updates and 36 repairs. After everyone specialized on the task, they have comparative advantage and trade the things to each other. The total output increased to 16 updates and 48 repairs. Obviously, the total output of the economy is increased. But why different people have comparative advantage in different courses? That's because the attribute of different economic entity are different. In an individual level, their talent, education, training, or experiences. While in the national level, the national resources, the oil, the forest, and the culture and society norms. All of these attributes will influence the opportunity cost of one economic entity and influence their comparative advantage. I will give you a further interpretation of opportunity cost, comparative advantage, and specialization and trade by using the production possibility curve. The points on the production possibility curve are the feasible output combination in given resources. In this day is 1 day. And they can be realized by working efficiently, so they are called the efficient point. By contrast, if we use the resources inefficiently, every point combination below the PPC can be product. These points below the production possibility curve are called the inefficient point, and both of the efficient point and the inefficient point are called attainable point because it is feasible to product. Well, even if you use all the resources efficiently, there's still some level of output that you can't reach. A set of these points are above the production possibilities curve, and they are the unattainable points. And the situation that you give up 1 hour to produce nuts to produce coffee also give you a further illustration on the scarcity principle. And via this figure, this production possibility curve, we can also calculate the opportunity cost for each task. When we use all your resources to produce nuts, you can produce 12 of it. When you use all the resources to produce coffee, you can produce 24 of it. So the opportunity cost of produce 1 unit of nuts is a unit of coffee you've give up. That is 2 units of coffee. From another perspective, the opportunity cost of produce 1 unit of coffee is the unit of nut you give up. That is 1/2 of nuts. Well, in this Microeconomics 1 course, the production possibility curve is very easy and it is linear function. In the real world or in more complex situation, the workers may get tired and the machines may spend some time to examination or rest. So the marginal product per hour may decreased cause the production possibility curve appears as a parabola. Like this. I'll show you. This one. It's like a parabola. Because of different attribute of different worker, everyone has their own production possibilities curve. Here is the other worker's production possibility curve. And you can pause the video and calculate the opportunity cost of this worker and see whether the answers are the same with the slide. We should not forget the purpose of us is to compare the production possibilities curve and use specialization and trade to maximize the output level. After we put two workers' production possibilities curve together, we can obviously see that Krisha has comparative advantage on produced coffee, and Tom has a comparative advantage in producing nuts. As a result, Krisha should spend all his resources produce coffee, and Tom should spend all his resources in producing nuts. After the specialization and trade, the consumption level of each one is at an unattainable level of their own production possibility curve. You can see here. As I just mentioned before, the production possibilities curve for an economy may not linear, but parabola. This reason for that is the principle of increasing opportunity cost based on the law of diminishing marginal return. Yeah, the principle of increasing opportunity cost. So how can we calculate the opportunity cost of each efficient point on the production possibility curve? We should recall the definition of the opportunity cost. The cost of another good when you choose to produce 1 unit of this good. Is it familiar with the slope definition in mathematics? We can use the slope to describe the opportunity cost of producing one good in a given efficient point. When you do the specific calculation, you can use the first derivative of that point to illustrate the opportunity cost. Well, I know some of you guys may get confused about the increasing opportunity cost. Then you can see through this slide and get a clear awareness about it. Let me give you an example. If a company plans to produce some coffee, they should have some laborers, right? And the cheaper resource of labor is to enroll some student in university. But if you already enrolled all of the students in university and you still want to produce more, you can only employ workers from the social labor market, and the workers in there are more expensive, so your cost is increased. Well, in the real world, the production possibility function are not fixed. If there is some shock happened, the PPC will shift. For example, when internet is introduced, it is kind of a neutral technique improvement. Both intercept of coffee and nuts will increase. Well, if only coffee machine became more efficiently, only the intercept of coffee axis will increase. Well, all the previous analysis are the theoretical situations. In the real world, the trade cost may exist. For example, the policies, the quota, the tariffs, a lot of things can influence the cost of trade. So the specialization and trade may happen easier when the cost of trade is negligible. But everything should have an appropriate extent. If there are too much specialization, some troubles may happen in our life. Well, in this course, the trade is confined in an individual level. However, if there are two nations instead of two workers, the scenario can be extended into the international trade, and we will discuss that in international economics. And in the scenario of international trade, outsourcing can be a way to control the cost. The firm can hire low-wage workers overseas to minimize their cost. This kind of behavior is called outsourcing. Generally speaking, input some production factors overseas to minimize the cost. The production factors, for example, the land, the capital, the labors, and time. So today we've got a further awareness about the comparative advantage and opportunity cost through the production possibilities curve. And we introduced benefit and limitation of specialization and trade, both in individual level and national level. So that's all for today's lecture. If you have interest on economics or you want to just chat to me, you can follow my channel. So goodbye, guys.